of time to talk through a lot of these picks. There are a lot of games today, though. I hadn't even thought about what I was going to say. What's happening, Stokastic basketball fans? Terry McBride here. Welcome to the No House Advantage strategy show for the NBA for Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving Eve was always a big party day, like post-college times. Come home, Thanksgiving Eve, all your friends are home. Go out, you hit the bars. But like I was saying behind the scenes, now all my friends kind of old, have kids, and all still in that young kids, high school age kids. But Gun, what about you? You doing any partying? You seeing any friends or anything like that for Thanksgiving Eve, or is it just like a low-key Wednesday night into Thanksgiving holiday?
Basketball and Fortnite. I don't know if I'm doing the bachelor life right or very wrong, but it is what it is.
That sounds like my kind of bachelor life, buddy. I think you're doing it right if I have a vote in that discussion, but you might not want my opinion on that because you're probably just getting the same kind of a person diving in with their thoughts. But I'm with Gundacker, obviously, as everybody just saw. He's here. We're going to go through all the different picks for No House Advantage for the NBA tonight. My microphone's doing weird things. It's flopping away from my house. If you haven't noticed, I'm in a different place than normal. I'm at my parents' house for the big holiday. So we're a little set up. Apologies in advance if we get any weird sounds, video things or anything like that, or if I just disappear completely and Gunn has to run the whole show here. Mikey will jump on camera, I'm sure, if that happens. He's nodding back there. So Gun, let's take a look at this. As usual, gang, we're brought to you by No House Advantage. Of course, they're running their parlay-based contests, play versus the field versus the house, all sorts of different low system resources may affect your audio quality. Try closing some applications. That's probably not a good sign. Hopefully everybody out there can hear me. Mikey, give me the high sign if I don't sound so good. But as I was saying, No House Advantage, great contests. You can win up to 25 grand playing against the field. You can win up to 20 times your entry fee playing against the house. We're going to go through some of the against the field picks here, and we're going to see how we do. Gun, what are you seeing? Let me jump in here and try and work on my issues streaming here. What are you seeing in terms of this slate? A lot of games on deck, some really, really lofty totals, and some obviously, some guys missing in action and creating situations. What are you seeing just in an overview sense?
Yeah, it's kind of your typical giant NBA slate. No games tomorrow, so a lot of games tonight. And what I noticed or stood out to me when I did some picks earlier, where we have two games that I really like the total on for DFS and for prop betting. It's the Timberwolves at the Pacers, 237 total and a 1.5 point spread. That game's a shootout. And the other game that looks really, really juicy for me was I believe it was the Atlanta game.
Yeah, that one had a noticeable total. That was a 240-ish.
241.5. Kings and the Hawks. Kings leading the league in offensive rating. And then inversely, while we have two of the higher totals I've seen all year, we have two of the lower totals I've seen all year. Wizards Heat 210.5. And then we have a 213.5 total with the Cavs and Blazers. So an early start to like some overs and some interest in some unders with some of those game flows and implied totals. So a little bit of everything on this slate for picks today on NHA. And I tend to like the slates that are big. It's kind of flipped my DFS hatred for the big slates where it's overwhelming and I can't keep up with all the news and what I like at 2 p.m. I end up not liking at 5 p.m. Yep. But for No House Advantage with the static lines, slates like today just create an never-ending opportunity of misappropriated lines since they don't change based on the news. So I think these bigger slates are more profitable long-term for NHA players like us.
Yep, absolutely. I think it's a great slate and there's a ton of stuff on the board. And like you said, it's just a matter of waiting for some of these opportunities to be created by news and then pouncing on the right ones. And we update all through the day with our percentages, our probabilities over at the site, which are all free for No House Advantage. You can get free projections, gives you the percentages that Gunn and I are going to be going through for these various prop bets. You can also get free lineups. We just have lineups built out, optimal lineups. You start with the most optimal. Maybe everybody's copying those first few lineups for entries, but click back 2 or 3 pages, you're still dealing with high 90% probabilities and a little bit of a differentiated lineup. So I think that's the optimal way to go about building cards for the versus the field contest, which is what we're here to talk about. Let's dive in. We've got a couple on the board here. Let's take a look. One that's standing out to me, it looks like we'll start on the unders, I guess. A little higher numbers on the unders. Colin Sexton starting on the unders, sitting at 92.3 on his rebounds prop. Rebounds at 5.5 for Colin Sexton. Not known for his rebounding acumen, I would say. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. What do you think of the Colin Sexton rebounding at 5.5?
Yeah, I think there's two that we're going to talk about in the next couple minutes that I feel like we talked about the last time we got together for the Utah Jazz. And I do believe last time we talked about Sexton's rebounds under 5. 5 is a really, really lofty number, considering that's pretty much his season high in a game. He's only averaging 2.5 on the season. So 5 in the hook, we basically are getting a line that he has not touched. He hasn't surpassed this line all year. So that 92% probability of hitting the under stands to reason. And I'm in full agreement with the under here. So one of my favorite plays.
Yep, I think that one makes a ton of sense. And it's, it's a situation we're giving him even a few more minutes. We're projecting him out at 27.6 minutes. He's been playing 22-1, but like you said, he hasn't touched that line yet. 5.6% rebounding share, averaging 2.5 in that 22.1 minutes. We've still got him under 30 minutes. We've got him projected at less than 3.5 rebounds. So we're 2 rebounds clear of that one. Seems like a good top of the cards type of a pick. Another one that's a guy who, doesn't necessarily hit all the time on the unders, and a lot of his overs are typically in check too. So we don't see him a ton, but Nikola Jokic sitting at a 13.5 rebounding prop, another high one. It's an 89%er. There's one in between these two we'll talk about in a minute, but just because of name recognition and everything, a superstar caliber player, Jokic standing out in my book, but we've got him projected well under that. So talk to me about the Jokic prop here.
Yeah, so he just missed a couple of games through the health and safety protocol, and then he was supposed to be here, dang it. He showed up last night and played, and just a couple minutes ago, maybe more than a couple minutes ago, he came up as questionable for conditioning on the injury report. So if he does play, they're obviously concerned about his gas tank, which makes me like to likes the under a little bit more. Sure. He is one of those guys, these high usage guys, that I am scared of ever sweating an under in almost any category. But a really strong game out of him last night. So you could see an opportunity before the break for him to take a couple days off, in which case we don't want to target it. But right now we're looking at just a 1-point spread, and the Thunder are favored. And that just kind of makes me wonder if a full-strength Nuggets team should be road dogs, right?
Yeah, starts to seem suspicious when you bring the line into question here. And, just looking at the minutes, we've got him projected about a minute under what he normally averages, but that still leaves us, roughly 2.5 rebounds clear of that line, pushing 3 rebounds clear of that line. We've got him projected at 10.7. So even if he comes out, let's say they shave just a few minutes off of him for conditioning purposes, I think we're well under that line anyway. He is a superstar. He could stumble into 14 rebounds, on any given night, but I think there's plenty of justification to target it, especially coming off the COVID list, second night of a back-to-back. He made it back in that weird situation yesterday where we had they went from out to questionable during the afternoon, and we still didn't know as we were building lineups. And he got into just enough of mine to screw me out of a few AD shares that probably would have been important given the night that he put up last night. But he's an interesting one to track, and just, I guess, keep an eye on the news, keep an eye on if they come out with anything about his status. What about Benedict Mathurin sitting in between those two? He's another 90%er on the under side of things, 29.5 on the PRA. That's well high compared to where we've got him projected. What are you seeing from Mathurin tonight?
Yeah, I actually talked about this a little bit in the video this morning. I'm with the under as well. The sweat would be, we just jazzed up the total on this one, and this with no Chris Duarte, you're looking at Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and maybe Mathurin here, because the Minnesota Timberwolves with Rudy Gobert in the paint, they funnel a lot of shots from behind the arc, and I am scared of Mathurin getting there by having an explosion 20-plus point game and then only needing a couple. But that's that's the high end of the spectrum, double-digit shot attempts. More often than not, he's landing on the underside of this number. It's a pretty hefty number. I will say I'm not warm and fuzzy because of the total here. But yeah, some with the under.
It's interesting to me, and you bring up a great point with the total, and I am a little bit concerned about this one as well, particularly just where it looks like, based on the math of it and how we've got it on the board, it looks like it makes a ton of sense to be a 90%er, right? 22.6 projection versus 29.5 line. A lot of room to work with there. But looking at the minutes, I mean, we've got him projected 27 minutes. He averages 27.6. Looking at his season-long averages, he's putting up a 25.1 PRA on the average. That's 3 clear of where we've got him, and certainly closer to where that line is. And then if we're talking about, potential to do a little bit more, potential for a high scoring game, that definitely, it does concern me a little bit. I'm not saying take it off the board, but I might knock that one back a few behind some of these other ones that are sitting here stronger. Let's take a look at, we'll jump over to the overs. I think we had some high ones there, a couple of 80s in the high 80s in the overs. We've got a Jordan Clarkson or a Darius Garland. Let's see what these are. I accidentally clicked away from where it tells me what they are. All right, we've got a Jordan Clarkson assists at 3.5. I think he came up the other day as well, where we were just saying, given the opportunity, it seems like he's going to cruise beyond that one. 3.5 line seems easy to get for him. And then we've got Darius Garland, 17.5 points. Both of those sitting pretty above 85%. What are we thinking on those two?
Yeah, actually, this is deja vu all over again. These are two numbers, I think, exactly the same that we discussed the other night. Jordan Clarkson.
This is the part of the show where I start to wonder if this was updated and if I'm just using the other days.
Life is, we're living in a simulation right now. And
that did happen once or twice last year where we were halfway through a show and it was like, oh, shit, this is from the
Yeah, well,
I'm reasonably sure this is
on the Clarkson side, he's already averaging 4.5 or 4.6 assists per game as it is. So the line's below his game by game average. You add in the fact that Mike Conley's out still. In that split, Clarkson has a 20 or his assist rate this season, I think is like 25% in that split. Let me get the actual number. Yeah, 25.6%. So yeah, this is a really, really low line, all things considered. So I love that spot for Clarkson. I think that's probably my favorite one on the board. And then Darius Garland, the other day we talked about how Donovan Mitchell scoring, Darius Garland assists has been like my just approach to everything. But Garland is a little bit different. In five games in a row for him, 23 or more points, including a 41 and a 51 point performance. He's been a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more successful, extremely efficient. And he's getting to the free throw line because he does more scoring in the paint or in the mid-range. And he's drawing some fouls, and he's an excellent free throw shooter. The pessimism I guess I would have here is the fact that this game total was a little bit lower in comparison to really every other game on the slate, but a 213.5 total and a 7-point spread. I'm nervous, but the line at the books, and I believe even on the no house advantage versus the house, was 23.5. So we're getting a 5.6 point discount depending on where you're looking. So I think that in and of itself is just an incredible opportunity of value. And that's the whole point of this game mode, is to take advantage of these soft lines. So I'm in agreement with the over. The total kind of scares me. The spread perhaps scares me, but I still think the 17.5 line, I'm leaning the over. I mean, the over.
Yeah, and I think, just given that cushion that we're getting, even if he has a clunker of a game or just a slower game, slower pace that brings down that overall total, there's just so much clearance on that 17.5 line versus where we've got him projected 24.9. He's been averaging 23.9. To your point, he's just been kind of lighting it up recently. So I think that one's another strong one, even regardless of where that total's sitting. And then just since you mentioned it, and we talked about it this way the other day, the Donovan Mitchell assists one is sitting there at 4.5. We've got it projected to go well over. It's the exact same conversation we had about it the other day, but Mike's been showing these on the screen on the YouTube channel. So I do believe we are talking about the right picks, but we do have Donovan Mitchell, fairly strong. There's a couple in between. We've got some Eitan Shander Memorial 3-pointers made in between with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and CJ McCollum, all fun guys to chase on threes. So we can talk about those, but before we hit those, the Donovan Mitchell assists 4.5, 83%. Sound about right?
Yeah, and it correlates well with what we're liking with Darius Garland. So I would be in agreement with that. It still feels weird. Like I don't trust Donovan Mitchell long term to be the guy that's passing more. 4.3 is or excuse me, 6 assists per game. So again, we're getting an opportunity where the line is lower than their game by game average. So it all lines up to be a positively correlated play if you want to put them together on a 10 slip.
Yep, I think those two make a lot of sense going together like that. We'll talk about those 3-point props in just a sec, but guys, if you haven't played on No House Advantage yet, it is a great site to go to. It's a most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. They're kind of reinventing how fantasy sports work on the fly here, but doing it by bringing you player props, and you can play in pick'em contests where you're going against the field, you're going against me and Gunn and Alex and a bunch of people, all building different lineups with these kinds of picks. We're trying to make our confidence cards a little bit different and try and take down the tournament, win $25,000 in cash against the field. You can also play your test your skills against the house. You can build out a five entry card. If you hit all 5 of your picks, 20x your entry fee. That's a pretty great opportunity against the house here. In the versus the field contests, they're leaving overlay on the board in every single contest that they're running these days. These contests are going off 35, 40 some odd % full. It's the easiest, best way to make money. They're doing that on purpose because they want to bring people to the site. It's a marketing tool. It's not going to last forever. So jump in there, capitalize on that. See, I use capitalize instead of take advantage. I'm learning. Capitalize on that opportunity to take some of that overlay off the board. Capitalize on the fact that we have free projections, free lineups for you. You can build entry cards for NFL, NBA, college football. They've got the World Cup going on right now, which I'm still yet to watch any of, but I do hear that there's soccer being played. We have the NHA lineup generator and projections, which I just talked about. There's key talking points here. Let me make sure I hit them all. $50 deposit match. I knew there was something else on the board for you guys. $50 deposit match. Go over there. Stop worrying about this stuff. Go over there and just take advantage. Don't sweat these lineups that we have to build on FanDuel and DK. Go to No House Advantage and just take some money off the board. It's just sitting there. Check it out, guys. You can download the app. You can find them online. A lot of places to play for No House Advantage here. We are also running, I'm going to do them back to back. We're also running our biggest at Stokastic, our biggest Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday deal ever. I feel like I'm working at Best Buy. This is our way of saying thank you to the best DFS community in the world. And I really agree with that, actually. I appreciate the hell out of everybody who watches our shows, hangs out in our Discord, all the members at the site. We really do have a great community. It's something that I always took pride in helping build. But we love you guys for supporting our shows, our podcasts, our articles. Without you guys, none of this is possible. So we're rewarding everybody with 90% off the weekly price of a Stokastic Plus Platinum membership. For $5 a week, you can jump on, get your first week of Stokastic Platinum. That's the usual regular price, $39.95. Like I said, 90% off. Use the promo code THANKS, all one word, thanks, without the giving part, just thanks. Or you can click, there's a direct link down in the description down there. Take advantage of this killer deal, which runs from the 21st to the 28th. So if it's December, this deal doesn't count anymore. Get access to everything: data, tools, all sports, lineup generators, World Cup projections, Slate Central, our 1v1 tools. So many different things included over there for just $5 for Stokastic Platinum. So check that out, guys. Promo code THANKS. And now I'm going to let Gun talk again. Gun. I mentioned a few 3-pointer props on the board. Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, CJ McCollum, 2.5, 3.5, 1.5 in that order. Do you like one of them better than the others? They're all between 86% and 84%.
Yeah, I went with Klay Thompson earlier as my favorite of the three. He's been lighting it up lately. He had that vintage 41.10 3-pointer game against the Rockets on Sunday. So just kind of expect him to take double-digit shot attempts today, 15 to 20, and we know half of them are going to be from behind the arc. No Paul George, no Kawhi Leonard, so a little bit of we don't have those defenders, but we also don't have those offenders, so you kind of worry about the scoreboard. But if the scoreboard gets too hectic, you imagine one of the Splash Brothers, if not both, have been lighting it up. So I think Klay stands out as my favorite of that trifecta.
Yep, I think that makes a ton of sense. 2.5 line sitting at a 3.9 projection for Klay. And just on, we always like to talk about volume with these, and we know that Klay likes to shoot the threes. That's Steph. Klay's taking 9.9 a game, making 3.7. So just on his averages, we're basically there. By that same token, like you said, it seems likely that both of them can get there. 85.9% for Clay, 84.4% for Steph to get over his. Steph taking 11.8, making 5.3, but he does have a loftier line with the 3.5 there. And then McCollum is ranking out pretty similarly with a 1.5 line and a 2.76 projection. So I think you take any one of them, but I do agree. I think the Clay looks a little bit stronger there. Let's jump around here. We've got a bunch of other three-pointer props. Drew Holiday, Spencer Dinwiddie, Tyrese Halliburton. All those are 80-plus percenters for people just trying to make some cards in a hurry. But let's jump back to the unders here. Interesting under on a star-ish caliber player at the very least, maybe second-tier star type of a guy. But Bradley Beal, certainly a name brand type of a guy. 39.5 on the PRA, though. That's pretty lofty. We've got him projected for a nice game, but not that nice. So what do you think of Bradley Beal going under on the PRA, 39.5?
Yeah, I like it a lot. Another one that I highlighted this morning. He actually took a knee to the thigh, I believe, on Sunday. So perhaps a little banged up. He's officially questionable. So we have to see if he plays. But if he did play, it could mean that he's not 100%. And we're also dealing with a 210.5 total against the Miami Heat. Last year he had a 30% usage rate. This year it's gone down about 26% because a healthy Porzingis is stepping up, and you got Kyle Kuzma. So not having to do as much. So I am in agreement with the under here, not expecting a ton of implied possessions, a ton of implied scoring. So I think I like the projection here on the under. And I believe these two teams, if I'm not mistaken, Terry, 2 games ago they went to overtime, and the combined total in overtime was 5 points. The game still hit the under of 213. So that's the type of basketball you're getting from these two.
Solid basketball. I missed that happened, and I'm kind of glad that I missed that happened. I do have the memory of a goldfish, but I would have actually remembered that them only scoring 5 points combined in OT. That's pretty pathetic. With you on the Beal one looking good here too. Do you agree that if he does get there, it's primarily going to be driven by his point scoring tonight? I think I don't see him coasting to 10 assists or a 9 rebound type of a game. It feels like it's a game where he's just going to be driven by scoring, and it doesn't seem like there's all that much scoring to be done tonight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He typically is a guy that needs to set the table with scoring anyway. Yeah. The Heat have been banged up, limping through some games lately, but they do have Bam Adebayo back, and they may have Hero back, which is actually maybe not what we want for the under defensively, but Jimmy Butler's still down. So, I would agree that it would be scoring that gets him there.
Yep, I think so. A couple more on the board. We've got a couple unders to talk about before we finish up here. Guy that haven't just even been on my radar all that much this season, but I'm just popping his name here. Gordon Hayward on the PRA. I don't know how many times I've played Hayward. Has Hayward even played this year? 10 games, it looks like. Yeah. I don't remember playing Gordon Hayward once so far in DFS this season, but he's on the board with a 29.5 PRA. We've got him projected well under that, coming in at 85%. What do you think on that one?
So that one makes me scared a little as well. We've seen him play big minutes in the last couple of games. LaMelo's back out, and this is not the same 76ers team that maybe some of our models are projecting with no Embiid on the court. Sixers on night 2 of a back-to-back. I always agree with the projections, but like we said with the Mathurin one, there's some that I don't feel as warm and fuzzy as the number. But yeah, I would lean with the under here as well. I think I was flirting with the Hayward real points over earlier, but I didn't strike on it. But 29.5 is still a lot to expect from Hayward. I just wish this game was a little bit different with like Embiid in or something like that. But 29.5, we're expecting that needs him to be about a PRA per minute or less in 34 minutes. So it's close.
And I tell you what, I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the world. Just looking at his numbers for the year, like I said, he hasn't hit my radar for whatever reason a lot this year, but 32.7 minutes in the 10 games he's played as an average. and putting up an average PRA of 26.2. So, I mean, that's another one where that's 3 points ahead of where we've got him projected. It's still relatively short of the line, but it's not crazy amount short of the line when you've got 3 ways to get there. So I don't love that one necessarily as much as the numbers do either. I think that's a good call there by you. To round it out, we'll go with another Washington Wizard who you did mention a few minutes ago when talking about Beal, KP on the under on his rebounds, sitting at a 10.5 line. Talk to me about that one. That one's over 80%er for us.
Yeah, in that overtime game, he actually landed 17 rebounds in this one. So on the season, you know, this 10.5 line is higher than his average. Again, trusting the pace, trusting this game to be a little bit slower in scoring. I would lean with the projection as well. That was really an outlier game in his last couple of outings, that 17 rebounds. But with the lack of Jimmy Butler, maybe the Heat are a little less defensive, a little bit more offensive with Tyler Hero chucking.
Yeah. But Ben coming back probably would negate some of that rebounding upside, I would think, for KP, right? Or at least more of a competitive rebounding situation, maybe.
Yeah, Bam was out that last game,
Yeah.
so it is much tougher matchup. Bam's been perennially one of the best center defenders in the league, so it is a tougher matchup, especially to get rebounds. And I think the best way to attack Bam is to stay away from the paint. And if Porzingis stays away from the paint, perhaps less rebounds to clean up.
Absolutely. And he's a player who, you know, definitely can play this game that way and can adapt to that situation. So it would make some sense that he might clear out a little bit. And just looking at the numbers, we've got him projected like right on what he's been averaging for the season. I don't really see any reason to be too concerned about that changing too much. So nice little clearance on the line there. That rounds us out a little couple minutes after 4 already. The show flew by. Anything that's standing out to you, Gun, that you wanted to mention that we didn't touch on as far as any of these picks?
The Tyrese Halliburton 3-pointers made was one that I was a little bit intrigued with Rudy Gobert on the other side there, thinking about the game totals, the game total for the Pacers and T-Wolves. The T-Wolves allow the most points via the 3-ball in the league. Tyrese Halliburton is a career 40% 3-point shooter. So I think 2.5 threes is a little light if the Pacers are going to drop 120. So I kind of like the over on the 2.5 threes for Halliburton, which is, you know, we're usually chasing him for assists, but I like the lower line on the threes.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. That one didn't stand out. It's sitting at 80%. Didn't stand out when I was running through them before. But yeah, looking at it, he's taking 7.1 a game, making 2.8 a game. So just under normal circumstances, we're basically there. You know, you might get it, you might not. But given the idea that this game's going to, you know, potentially shoot out and he's going to have a lot of shooting to do in that situation, I like that one a lot. That probably vaults it up even a few percentage points. So one little bonus one there for the people at the end of the show. And I'm glad it was a 3-pointer for our pal Aton. Hopefully he'll bet that one tonight and make some cash. Gun, tell the people where to find you and if you got anything going on.
Twitter, YouTube /Gundacker.
There he is, folks. He's been Gundacker. I'm Terry McBride. Have a very happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Make sure you're playing on No House Advantage. Make sure you take advantage of our promo code. I did it. Make sure you take advantage of our promo code, thanks, all caps, all one word, to get $5 access to Stokastic Plus Platinum. And make sure you're tuning in later on tonight before the big holiday. We do have NBA Deeper Dive at 4:45 with Greg and Adam, and then 6 o'clock NBA Live Before Lock with Josh. And it looks like Eric, but it's cut off. I'm guessing that it's Eric. It might be EMAC, but it's probably Eric. So stick around for those big slates tonight, and then have a very happy Thanksgiving tomorrow, gang. With that, good luck. We're out of here.